I'm a believer that breakfast is one of the greatest meals of all time. And that's why today I'm on a mission to find the best breakfast in the world. Viewers from all over the globe submitted their favorite breakfasts from their representative countries, and thousands of votes later, the results are in and we're left with a top 12 that come together to meet today in one insane battle. The top 4 most popular dishes will have earned a bye, while the remaining 8 will compete for their chance to move on through the tournament. The world's most beloved breakfasts are gonna battle, and we will find our champion. Starting with our first matchup,
Ireland versus the Philippines. Philippines with long silog, it's garlic fried rice, topped beautifully with a generous amount of fried garlic, longanisa, fried egg. Our favorite Filipino chef Christian said to serve with sliced tomatoes, seasoned with fish sauce, and the commenters in our Filipino versus American breakfast called for achara, pickled papaya, and separately a dipping sauce made with cane vinegar and soy sauce. You know, to cut the richness of all that. Garlicky fried rice and pork. Next up, Ireland with the full Irish breakfast. You've been asking for this for a long time. It's very simple. Black and white pudding, bangers, rashers, baked beans, fried eggs, fried tomato, boxed tea, and mushrooms. And we even got soda bread served on the side with marmalade and butter. We ain't f***ing around, brother. Our guest taste tester today is David Douglas. He is an Austin legend known for trying all of the greatest restaurants and telling people all about it on Instagram. And of course, Prince Vicwam, director and seasoned channel taste tester.
2 unlikely competitors, the Philippines versus Ireland. Honestly, these are really strong contenders. I don't even know where to begin.
I want to go Philippines.
I can't even say anything. I want to just keep eating it. That rice is incredible. Longanisa is incredible. It's just a great combination of things.
I'm busting.
That makes 2 busts.
The rice, unbelievably garlicky, but not overwhelmingly so. It's almost more of a fragrance than it is like some sort of blast in your face. Longanisa is fantastic. It's sweet, it's salty, it's umami. Fried egg only makes a beautiful sauce with crispness. All the accoutrement, it's wonderful.
There's so many different flavors and textures, and they all go so well together, and individually each bite is incredible. No matter which component you taste, there's nothing to not enjoy. It's great.
When Flavor Town was founded, this is what they had in mind. They wanted that garlic, they wanted the sausage, they wanted these town members coming together to form a sort of a town. Maybe a town of flavor, you could call it.
Okay, Ireland. I don't even know where to begin with this.
I know where I'm beginning. Soda, me, bread.
That's what I'm thinking too.
For me, this one has the variety going for it. It's kind of a playground for you to dip, dive, dunk.
I can't stop eating. I keep eating something, then I go back for something else. It's all great flavors, all combined into one amazing plate that I thought would be a bit too much. I thought there's too many different components, but all of them work really well together. Even the Filipino one, same thing. It's hard.
I'm hard. This is really hard. It's voting time. 1, 2, 3.
Unanimous.
Wow. Ireland, I'm really sorry. It's so tasty.
The unanimous vote, it doesn't represent how close these were for me, but I think we all put the slight edge to the Philippines.
Moving on. The Philippines moves on powerfully to the next round to face Mexico. But first we head to our next round 1 matchup, France versus Colombia. Colombia with arepa con huevos. I've never had this before, and I gotta say, these are 2 things that I love, so I have a feeling this is a strong contender. 2 pan of sauteed tomato and green onion, add eggs, seasoned taste with salt, and stir until soft scrambled. Serve with a hand-formed fried white corn arepa. Crispy on the outside, but tender, chewy, almost voluptuous on the inside. And enjoy. France with the croissant. I mean, we know what this is, right? Butter and dough, rolled into multiple layers, and once cut and baked, crispy, airy pastries that make me want to take my socks off and wiggle my little piggies.
I think we should start with France because it's the simplest. You can dip them into a cappuccino if you want, or eat them by themselves. This is a good croissant.
The butter is buttering.
Nice, crispy, airy, all the qualities of a good croissant, and I think a good breakfast as well.
So crispy.
Part of me does want to Americanize the croissant and stuff it with other things.
The French would be appalled. Well, actually, the French are finally evolving a little bit, you know? It took them a while, but they're on their way.
God bless them. Every laugh I get out of Josh, he pays me another 5 nickels. I've got a whole $1 now.
Let's move on to the Colombian dish. I like this. If you are not from Colombia, but you're used to like maybe an egg and or bacon centric breakfast, it feels new. You're so used to maybe like toast or hash browns with your eggs. This is a great change of pace if you've never had this before. I love this. I also love that the eggs are deeply flavorful and they've got some vegetative quality to them. It's nice.
The eggs are great. Everything that's combined into the eggs really elevates it past the very basic scrambled eggs.
The egg and the pepper mixture, it's really working for me in ways that other dishes haven't so far.
It's voting time. 1, 2, 3. What?
The eggs are great, but you know, it's just eggs. When you're on the streets of France, you're walking down and it's like 5 in the morning, you just smell those buttery croissants, that hits like nothing else. That's why it just takes a slight edge.
I have a retort. Just eggs is ignoring the tomatoes, the peppers, the spices, and the soul that went into this delicious Colombian meal. And that's why, frankly, I disagree with you.
I'm in between the two opinions here. The croissant is so unique to France, and there's nothing else like it. So I almost wanted to vote for this, but just personally, I enjoyed this one more. That means Colombia moves on to the next round.
On to our next matchup, Vietnam versus Turkey. Vietnam coming in with pho. Vietnam recently did very well in our other video, where we were looking for which country has the best sandwich. Now look, although pho is popular in the United States, it's much lesser known as a breakfast item. But we're told by a few Vietnamese chef friends that in Vietnam, it's a way of life. Lay thinly sliced raw beef on top of your cooked rice noodles, pour over boiling hot broth to cook the beef, garnish with Thai basil, sliced onion, green onion, a little Thai chili, cilantro, braised sliced beef, and finally bean sprouts. Serve and enjoy. Turkey coming in with menemen. We followed this recipe exactly from a YouTube channel, Turkish Food Travel. Thank you for that. You start by sauteing peppers in butter and olive oil, followed with chopped tomato. Season with salt to break that down. Cook it down, roughly crushed using a potato masher. Then gently stir in some scrambled eggs and very gently cook till the eggs are just barely set. You don't want to overcook this. Add a little cheese on top, optionally. Serve that with bread, and it's that simple.
What should we try first?
This one's giving a lot more breakfast energy for me, so I'm gonna get in here first.
That's insane. It got really cold outside, and this feels like such a nice warming presence. This is a great breakfast to start off the day on any day. I didn't know how the bread was gonna go with it, but that soft texture on top of another soft texture wasn't a problem. It was just a really good taste.
Whatever that light green spicy pepper in there, it's like the perfect amount of heat, and also the flavor is a little bit more subtle than a jalapeno.
You got cooked down concassé tomato essentially, red bell pepper for a little bit of sweetness, and then you have this green pepper that provides an herbaceousness, a little bit more of a vegetable flavor, but then there's the egg, it's custardy, it's juicy, it's cheesy. I mean, it's kind of like everything that you like about many breakfasts in the world in one. But it's funny you bring up needing to warm up because we have a bowl of warm pho, which I would argue is maybe the perfect item for the winter.
This is light, refreshing. I can feel good about going along the day if I had this for breakfast, but the menemen is a flavor punch.
I don't know that I would say this is less flavorful.
Less spicy.
It's definitely less spicy, but I think pho is all about flavor. They're both good in their own right. What do you think? David never came here to taste anything. He came here to eat. Time to vote. 1, 2, 3. Wow, unanimous. I'm not saying that this dish is better than this. I'm just saying that this is a better breakfast dish than this.
I wish I grew up in Vietnam eating pho for breakfast every day and associated that with breakfast, but unfortunately I didn't, and so this eggy, peppery, bready dish just gave more breakfast energy to me. I couldn't help it.
I fully agree.
Turkey moves on to the next round.
On to our final round one matchup, Brazil versus Australia. Two places I love, but who is gonna make it to the quarterfinals? Brazil with pão de queijo, aka cheese bread. I could eat 1,000 of these, I'm not gonna lie. You need an oiled hand to get your dough balls separated. Placed onto a baking sheet, baked at 350 Fahrenheit until they come out rich, golden, and beautiful. Serve immediately with strawberry jam and black coffee. Australia with avocado toast. In our recent fast food breakfast video, our friend Andy Cooks said that Australia loves and is known for its breakfast. So Andy's here to describe the Australian avocado toast.
It has to be avocado on toasted sourdough and a poached egg on top. Soft goat's cheese and a nut seed topping called dukkha, seasoned with salt and seasoned with lemon zest, garnished with micro coriander and served with cold smoked salmon on the side. Back to you, legend.
Andy, we love you. And by we, I mean me.
It's funny because this is clearly from Brazil. But to me, when I think of avocado toast, I think of California. So let's try one. The pão de queijo.
I thought this was gonna be heavier coming into this, but it's really light. It's airy. I feel like I could eat 3 of them, maybe 4, and this jam that goes with it is a great pairing. I'm not a fan of the coffee. I'm not a fan of any coffee, but that's besides the point. This is great.
Cheese bread and coffee in my head, I'm like, but it's nice.
By far the best part for me is the texture. It's like got almost like a mochi sort of situation where you're like chewing it a little longer, you think, but you're enjoying every moment of it. The jam, the coffee, sweet, not sweet, works just like the boys were saying.
I also like the saltiness that the cheese adds to the bread. A lot of breads to me are oftentimes undersalted. This is perfectly salted. It's actually one of my favorite breads of all time. This is gonna be a tough battle. That said, avocado toast. I will say, avocado toast is one of my favorite foods on earth, but having it next to the pão de queijo, I don't know.
It's tough. It's light and refreshing as well. It's in a different way. I would not be upset starting my morning with something like that. It's a good texture, it's a good flavor. You know what avocado toast is. It's exactly what you expect.
That's the challenge for me. It's like, there's no novelty factor here. I'm trying to put my brain into objective mode, but it's just saying I've had that before. I haven't had cheesy bread and jam before. That's a new thing. I want to latch on to that.
Now we vote. 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, the odd man out.
Listen, avocado toast is great, and most times I would want it for breakfast. One of my problems with it is it's kind of just is what it is. You get bored of it really quick. What I liked about the pao de queijo is on its own, it's delicious with jam, but think of all the other things you can do with this. This is such a great base. You know, I don't know if I could say the same thing about this. It's fighting against something that has like how many components on it? This is one.
The flavors they're not similar, but I'd say they're on like a similar level for me, but the texture of the pao de queijo is just so much higher for me. It's more interesting. It's something I'm gonna be thinking about later today. And you know, after you eat a couple of them, I feel like you're pretty full. I feel like I kind of have to work my way through the avocado toast. Nothing wrong with it. I just prefer the Brazil one a bit more.
Moving on.
Sorry to Australia and our man Andy, but Brazil deservedly takes the final spot in the quarterfinal matchups. Our first matchup of this round is a battle between two heavyweights, Mexico versus the Philippines. Mexico with chilaquiles. This is our top vote getter. Today we have my rojo recipe, which features guajillo, ancho, and serrano chilies. The recipe's in the description, along with an even easier variation using a can of chipotles. We sent this recipe to Chef Alejandra at Este, one of the top Mexican restaurants here in Austin, and she gave her stamp of approval. She did mention that she tossed the chips and sauce together in a separate bowl, being careful not to oversaturate the chips to prevent sogginess. Great tip.
I don't know what to do here because if someone were like, Josh, what's your favorite breakfast? It would be one of these two things.
You're in a tough position. I, on the other hand, just want to eat food, and I'm gonna worry about the rest later.
That's crazy how good that is.
I would like to be baptized in this salsa.
I went on vacation recently, and for 4 days I was out. I had chilaquiles every single morning for breakfast, unapologetically. It is incredible.
We'll get into this.
I don't know. They're so different.
I feel sorry for us having to make this decision, but I feel sorry for everyone that can't experience what we're eating right now, because this is incredible.
I don't know what the to do here.
I think we gotta stop thinking and start writing.
All right, guys. 1, 2, 3. Wow.
This is not an easy decision. I thought it would be going into this. I thought it would blow it out of the water, but honestly, like, I couldn't stop eating that garlic fried rice. I couldn't stop eating the longanisa. Even though the chilaquiles, I feel like flavor-wise was a little higher, but this is just such a good balanced breakfast.
For me, it came down to one factor only, these right here. I couldn't stop eating these. If this was on that, whole different story. Despite the chilaquiles being very good, couldn't top that for me.
The way I looked at it was, if I was at a restaurant and I saw both of these on the menu, I would pick this over this every time. Chilaquiles is everywhere, but how often do you see a great Filipino breakfast somewhere? So Philippines moves on to the next round.
Our next matchup is the 12th seeded Colombia versus our 4th seeded India. India with masala dosa. Breakfast varies widely depending on where you are in India, but most votes from you went to the masala dosa filled with spiced potato and onion mixture, served with a coconut chutney and sambar, a spiced lentil stew from South India.
Really tasty, wow.
I grew up with this. Masala dosa is such a classic. It has so many good flavors and different options you can choose from while still just being a light vehicle to eat. It's really balanced. There's a lot of good flavors, but it's not too heavy. You can eat that whole thing for breakfast and feel good about it the rest of the day.
It's fragrant, got a little crunch, it's got a little chew. You have the creaminess of the mashed potato. It's a little spicy, it's a little sweet. The accoutrement on the side, just an extra layer of flavor, a little bit of hydration to it, even though it doesn't need it. Not dry at all, really good.
And then when you do the dunk, now half of the crunchy isn't so crunchy anymore. It's a lot going on and it all works together.
But it's going up against a heavy hitter. Will it be enough to overtake Colombia?
This is a tough pick, but it's time. 1, 2, 3. Unanimous! Although the arepa con huevos are delicious, this is just super unique. There's nothing in the world like this. I could eat this every morning.
I could eat it every morning. I could also eat it for lunch and dinner. It's just something that keeps you entertained the whole time you're doing it.
I agree. I've done that and it's fantastic. You can mix and match what's inside. You can mix and match the accoutrement. It's a great dish.
India moves on to the semifinals against the Philippines. Now to our next quarterfinal matchup, USA versus Turkey. USA, the full American breakfast. This needs no explanation. Big fluffy pancakes topped with butter, maple syrup, a plate of bacon, hash browns, and scrambled eggs. It's a timeless staple. But is it really gonna be able to stack up against our contenders today?
I love seeing these two dishes in front of each other because they're so incredibly different. Funny enough, the American one looks a little anemic just because there's such a lack of color. I like that there's like red and green and peppers and this nice rustic red beautifully in a bowl. It's kind of telling of cultural differences. Should we start with this one, yeah? Jesus, David. You can eat as much as you want after this.
We're making a sandwich.
I will say, there's no combination on earth that's more iconic in the breakfast world than bacon, maple syrup, fresh pancakes. What's more iconic than that? Back to the Menemen, just to refresh my memory here, all right?
It's so tough because these are classic flavors, but compared to all the flavors we've had today, all these new diverse flavors that I'm experiencing, it doesn't hit the same.
I think I'm getting hit in the head with sweetness and fat, which I do love, but when you introduce other flavors, then suddenly those kind of turn from a bright light to a kind of a gray dullness, you know?
Ready, 1, 2, 3. Unanimous again.
I love both dishes, but the sweetness and the fat, it just didn't compare to the herbaceousness, the spice of the Turkish dish.
Yeah, this warmed my soul, but this danced on my tongue.
One more thing. Look how fast this comes together. If you want to make this, you need to cook bacon. You need to cook hash browns. You need to cook scrambled eggs. And you need to cook pancakes. All in separate pans, by the way. This is kind of a high effort.
All that to lose to a one-pan wonder.
And the one-pan wonder moves on.
A big upset. Turkey continues its journey towards the crown with a triumphant win over USA. On to the quarterfinal matchup, Brazil versus England. Number 2, England with the full English fry-up. We've seen this video before, all right? I have a whole recipe for this, and it is that exact recipe, except we did include black pudding and bubble and squeak. We wanted to keep it OG. Onto a large plate. Spoon of generous portion of Heinz beans, separating the rest of the plate with a sausage wall. Lay down your eggs, mushrooms, English bacon, black pudding, bubble and squeak, fried bread. Finish with bruleed tomatoes and some fresh cracked black pepper.
The full English breakfast.
I'm trying to get everything in one bite. That's my strategy here, is build up sort of a Tower of Babel sort of situation. Now that, guys, I will admit, quite delicious. Getting all the flavors together, it really gives you an appreciation for all the small individual kingdoms of England that came together to make this beautiful dish.
Probably a lot of people died.
Oh, certainly. I think that's mostly what I'm tasting here.
He had the experience of putting everything together and having a great time. I had a great time having everything separate, and it's just as good. There's a lot of components on here. I didn't really touch the beans, but everything else on here is really good individually, and I keep coming back. I think that says a lot about this dish.
I'm one of the most indecisive eaters you'll ever meet. Anytime I go to a restaurant, I will order almost everything off of the menu. That may seem gluttonous, but the funny thing is, it's not so much about volume of eating, it's more so volume of choices. And what I love about an English breakfast is it has many textures and flavors and proteins and carbs and starches and crispy and chewy and fatty and juicy and so on and so forth. If I'm going out to breakfast and I order this, I don't need to order anything else.
I live in fear that my tower of English breakfast will be the best thing I've had today and nothing else will be able to compare, but that's something I'm just gonna have to live with.
Unless we find something better.
Could be Brazil.
1, 2, 3. Unanimous. I mean, it's not really a fair competition. The pão de queijo originally up against the avocado toast was the simple one over the complicated, but in this case, the complicated one because of the variety of choice, and it was all delicious. I'm so happy with this. I feel like I could eat this every day.
It goes to show you, just when you think you've got it figured out, you don't.
True. On to the next.
And England takes our final spot in the semifinals. Now it's getting serious with only 2 more matchups until our final round, starting here with the Philippines versus India.
We are now in the semifinals with 2 incredibly beautiful, unique breakfasts, totally different from any American breakfast. I think we just need to refresh ourselves here.
It's gonna be so hard to beat that.
India.
This is a crazy matchup. They're both flavor powerhouses. I really thought this would be a matter of which one do I want to keep eating, but unfortunately both of them I want to keep eating.
It's also tough to compare because they're really so different. This one has more sweetness, more fragrance. This one has all the spices and aromatics.
And they both have a ton of textures too. They're so different and one and the same at the same time. All right, I have my answer. Whoever wins this could win the whole thing. 1, 2, 3. Whoa!
India. It was a great journey, and I really feel like it had a chance to win the whole thing. But for now, we move on to our semifinal round, England versus Turkey.
England, you have a lot of opportunity to win here because you've got 8+ elements. The menemen has 2, the dish and the bread. Let's begin. Back to the menemen. This is tough.
I feel like the texture bar is a lot higher on the English breakfast, but the flavor bar is a bit higher on the turkey breakfast. I feel like the flavor on the English breakfast, it has a ceiling, but there is a lot to love about the English breakfast.
I'm definitely feeling the fact that we're getting into the finals rounds here, and this is becoming a lot more difficult.
Just remember, whatever you choose, don't worry, you're probably gonna disappoint a whole culture.
If you have an immigrant parent, you're used to that.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be another clean sweep for Turkey.
The only reason I chose the England one was simply because there are more combinations on this plate. You're gonna scoop this bread in there 30 or 40 times until you're done. At some point, it's just gonna be the same thing over and over and over. That will not happen with this. And here's the kicker. This was the thing that really sold me. The bruleed tomatoes provide the same effect that this does if you take these tomatoes, the eggs, mix them together and put it on toast. Now, I'm not saying the flavors are the same, but just texturally, a little bit of tomatoey sweetness, some egg, you can get almost there.
I think I see what you're saying. For me, this is like an amusement park. I'm dipping, I'm diving, I'm combining things in different ways, which is great. But for this, I'm just going on the same roller coaster again and again, but it's the one that goes the fastest, goes the highest, comes crashing down with the peppers, and it turns out I'm an adrenaline junkie when it comes to breakfast.
As I said before, there's, I think, a bar to where the flavor can go on this one. At a certain point, it hits a limit, and this one, it just keeps going, it keeps building, and I don't get bored of it. Granted, it's like one of the first times I've had it, but I think I'm gonna want it again over and over and over. This has now become one one of my favorite breakfast dishes. It's a sleeper, and I think it deserves its top spot.
And there it is, Turkey's Menemen battled its way all through and takes its rightful place in the final matchup against the Philippines.
We have two underdogs. These were some of the least voted for dishes, and yet both of them made it to the finals.
I'm gonna get in here first. I'll give some examination to that. Now the menemen.
All right, I have my answer. You guys take as long as you need. Bro's trying to hit his minimum caloric requirement today as soon as possible.
Oh my.
This does not help you make a decision whatsoever, does it?
Now that I've gone into the depths of my piggy nature, I know what I need to do.
1, 2, 3. Oh my God! The win goes to the Philippines for the best breakfast. So many different cultures, so many different ingredients. Philippines got a deserved win. It climbed all the way from the bottom, all the way to the top, just like Turkey did, which was a very, very close second.
I feasted on both of these meals, and only one dish had pork, and it was sweet pork with garlic rice, with pickles, and all of those sensations. Despite how good the dish from Turkey was, despite me loving every minute of eating it, I had to give it to the Philippines.
There's a winner here, but I think the real winners are us. Both of these were fantastic dishes. Every dish we had was incredible. Really hard decision to make, but at the end, I just had to give Philippines that slight edge because the flavor, the texture combination was just that much higher, but I'm not disappointed at all in our second place choice.
There are many other breakfasts out there. Maybe there is one better than this, but we went off the list that we got from you guys, so thank you for that. Thank you for voting. Congratulations to the Philippines for best breakfast. Bye. Subscribe.